Welcome to Cocktail Club podcast, Som and Diggy. And so, Cocktail Club podcast is your backstage pass to your fascinating world of bartending and beyond. We delve into experiences, stories, and innovations in the F&B landscape. I'm super excited to have you both. I think to our listeners, I would like you both to introduce yourself. Give a little brief about backstory of who you are and what you do.
So my name is Somanna. I Before founding the Soul company, I started my career in tech, and then I was in retail with this company called Chumbak. Always been in brand and marketing, and then after that, I was in real estate for some time. But all of my time outside of that was spent traveling to eat and drink. I grew up as an army kid, so also there was a lot of travel involved. So whether it was in India or outside India, my true love was always for meeting chefs and bartenders. I feel like the insight that they could give you into their world of food and also the cities that their restaurants or bars were in was priceless. And that's somewhere where the idea of Soul Company also came. How do we build a company where people can do that with bartenders and chefs?
Right.
And and now it's been 4 years since started Soul Company. It was just before the pandemic. It was started as a travel experiences company to kind of experience India through the eyes of chefs, bartenders, people across culture, whether it was artists, art gallery owners also. But 2020 was obviously a great year to start a travel company. The pandemic hit in March, and then so much changed after that. And we really kind of doubled down on food and drink, chefs and bartenders. How do we create at-home experiences? And then once the pandemic opened up, how do we create live experiences?
Okay.
So yeah, I'm from Coog, and now I live in Bangalore. So
Okay.
pretty much living in Coog only. So.
Okay. Great. What about you, Diggy?
Nice. I am Digant, of course. A lot of people know that I'm Diggy, but as people in Calcutta would call me, Diganto. I'm actually very much from the F&B industry. Actually, I wanted to be a doctor when
Wow.
I really, really wanted to be a doctor, and my parents are the opposite of what Bengalis would be. They told me go into hospitality, and
Okay.
I revolted with them. Like I don't want to do this, and then of course I ended up in Bombay. I studied in Bombay.
It's
And
literally the opposite.
It is.
I mean, my
yeah.
parents didn't wanted me to get into it. They wanted me to
Become a doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to be a doctor. I'm like, please, I want to be a doctor. They said you can't be a doctor, be a terrible doctor.
Okay.
So yeah, and then I mean anyway, I had to cut like dead bodies, just animals. But after that, I studied in Bombay, and then I worked with the Taj for as a Taj management trainee, and then I moved around different cities until I moved to Sri Lanka in Colombo, and that's where I lived for almost 2 years. My job was to actually travel across Sri Lanka and make all the hotels of Taj in Sri Lanka a more Sri Lankan hotel.
Okay.
In every aspect. At the most beautiful time, I came back and I was in Yashwantpur in our South Regional office doing some very corporate job until one day they gave me a position for the Center of Excellence of Food and Beverage. Would you be a part of it? It's just a think tank for 5 people and made by the CEO, and I was like, fuck it, let's do it. And then we founded Cumin, Seven Rivers, Loya. I mean, Loya came now, but it was conceptualized back then. And when I moved to Bangalore, I didn't have much friends because I moved from literally another country at that time. And I met Somanna through one of our common friends, Kalyan. So Kalyan, if he's hearing, he will know. He's a great columnist, food blogger, Kalyan Karbakar, back from Bombay. And we met at Koshi's, and I always used to joke with him, saying that if you ever need another person in the company, I would always come and join. And the fun part was we actually bonded over in the last bar takeover that happened before COVID, which is when Andrew Yap the old man came to the Oberoi.
Right, the Oberoi.
Yeah.
That's where I met you.
Yes, correct.
For the third time, I
guess. Third time, yeah, after Mr. Pai's house.
Yes,
correct.
Right.
And then COVID happened. I went back home to Calcutta. And one day he called me and he's like, would you like to join? I was like, oh, are you serious? Okay. I came back on Taj's money. Okay. I told him to fly me down so that I can work in the company, only to give the resignation letter. Okay. And it was COVID. They thought I'm taking a really bad decision. I followed what I wanted to do. And here we are. I head the brand at Soul Company. And I think all of what Soul does is what Som said. But the other part of my journey in Soul is to figure out great talents and businesses across Southeast Asia, and that's where I spend most of my time. Singapore, Hong Kong, Bangkok,
Right.
Singapore, Malaysia.
No, I
Sri
think
Lanka.
from my standpoint, as sole company, you're showing a new side of India to the world, right? Which is really, really great. But what is that motivation or the inspiration which made you do this? There must be some problem statement or a reason or something which you really wanted to put out there.
Yeah.
Uh, for me, it was very like, of course, Som will have his thoughts. I think when I lived in Sri Lanka, in Colombo, it was at least 7 times ahead of India or Bombay, the time that I was living, which is between 2008, 17 to 2019. And Colombo used to have these supper clubs, parties, pop-ups were very common. They did Meat Smith pop-up. The Bombay canteen did a pop-up way before they even thought about pop-up. Bars used to be great. They used to have speakeasy bars, Bale Street merchants. Used to be behind a coffee shop. It used to be expat crowd. And I think when I came back to Bangalore, I had this problem statement to solve, which I was trying to do through Taj and then of course through Soul, was how do we make things super accessible, fun, and just like not like big spaces, big bars, big restaurants, but how do you create those experiences that I had back in this island country that I was there? And I think we personally for I took that part of it, and of course our team kind of went across with that. What do you think? So, what was your?
Yeah, I think it's always been a personal uh, problem of sorts that we're solving, right? I think initially it was how do we showcase to the world what the India story is, from an F&B perspective, but what the contemporary India story is. I think when I used to see people travel to India, and people who are ready to spend a lot of money also, coming from other countries, the itinerary used to pretty much be the same. Just the quality of the hotels would change where they would live, right? So if they're doing the Golden Triangle of Delhi, Jaipur and Agra, they will maybe stay in better hotels that do the same things. And I had seen how dramatically things had changed since 2011-12 on the F&B scene in India. I mean, from 2016 onwards, you had a place like Mask pop up, and after that, you've seen so many tasty menu restaurants happen. 2012 was when Cocktail and Dreams opened. So there were these turning points, and from that turning points, there were these large jumps that the F&B world kind of took, whether it was in cocktail bars, restaurants, chef-led concepts that started popping up, bartender-led concepts that started popping up, while in parallel doing that outside of India, right? Going and seeing that, hey, the market's already there, but India's catching up so fast. So I think there were two parts to it. One is how do we showcase Indian talent and Indian concepts in an interesting way. That's how we started. And I think we felt that, okay, we've taken it as far as we can and we continue to do that with talent. So now we may work with talents in a way that we're like, hey, how do we help you set up a space? How do we put you in touch with the right kind of people? That's one small part of what we do. But I think the other part was what we learned was how evolved the Indian diner was. And we say that how do we kind of showcase experiences in a different way to them? That's where the whole piece of like bringing, bars and chefs from across the world. And we have and that's where the personal part comes in, right? Like, I don't think anyone in the team would go and talk to a bar or a restaurant or a hotel to host anyone, whether it's a chef or a bar, unless we've experienced it.
That's why we are poor.
Yeah, that also. That's why no money stays. But I think when we travel, also if you're in Singapore, Bangkok, whether we're traveling together or say Diggy's traveling by himself, anyone else in the team is traveling, there's always a very clear agenda of, hey, we have a sense of what's popping in those cities, but it's not always just the most popular places, right? It's also some of the underground stuff that's happening. How do we bring some of that to India and then push consumers out here to appreciate that? Because I think like talent is already there. Right. I think Ahsoka has been in the making for so long in that sense, right? But I think the diners and the drinkers in the country, drinkers in the country had to like get there themselves, right? So I think that's our small effort of tweaking culture in the F&B space. Alcoholics, yeah.
Cocktail enthusiast.
Cocktail enthusiast. Yes.
Yeah.
With the king.
Oh yeah. So, what do you see is going to be the vision of Soul Company? Where do you see yourself pushing the envelope forward? Because I see that you guys have brought in a lot of chefs, bartenders from other countries here, right? I think it's from what I look at it as is from being in the industry, I get to meet those people. I get to have a chat with them, understand what they do back there, and then try their drinks or food and all those things. But is that the way you're going to take it forward, or what do you see?
I'll give you a 30,000 foot view first, right? I think our idea at Soul Company and it's kind of developed over the years, because I think because we kind of started in the pandemic, in a sense, we had to keep tweaking things around, because we also had to keep making money. We also had to build something that was sustainable. So while we have that in certain parts of our business, I think the other part from a brand and story perspective for us is how do we go deeper and deeper into the entire F&B ecosystem, right? So when I say that, it's not just about, I think today a large part of what we do is let's build experience and events, but from a perspective of consulting, which is we work with brands, whether it's hotel, spirit brands, and say, we're not just here to kind of do events, but we also here because we are able to give you a unique perspective on consumers. So what kind of stuff you create, that is one part. The other part is how do you work with outlets and restaurants and hotels to say that if you want to create something world class, but for an Indian audience, how do you do that in a way that doesn't dilute your brand and only kind of is able to expand your story? And I think over the next few years, another large piece for us, which maybe we don't directly talk about a lot, is the media piece. We've been the media partners for the World 50 Best restaurants and bars, and attended a couple of them. The Asia 50 Best Bars, the Asia 50 Best Restaurants.
BCB, where we both met.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Bar Convent, the Michelin Guide Awards also in Singapore earlier this year. So I think for us, it was also, it's not enough to just expose consumers to talents, but also of what's happening in that sense globally, and at least starting with Asia. So that's the media piece, which kind of unfolds on our Instagram to an extent. And now it is, okay, this is the world of F&B. There is setting up of spaces. There is consulting with spaces that already exist. There is how do you tweak culture from a consumer standpoint? Are consumers ready for residencies? Are consumers ready to travel for dining and food experiences away from their cities? And when we are able to do that, is the rest of the industry able to kind of create products around it, right?
Correct.
So I think that's where we want to sit, right? Like, how do we keep tweaking culture, both on the talent side and on the consumer side, and maybe at some level also soon on the investor side, right? Like, what kind of concepts are they investing in? Who are the people coming in and investing in the F&B space? How do you kind of break that current system of, how F&B largely functions, right? And you guys have been pioneers in that. There have been so many players who've been doing that. Now, how do we kind of work with all of them and tweak that space?
And the other part of it is how do we represent India? And it's much not talked about neighbors like the subcontinent. I think over time it will come out in the conversation that I'm very, very emotional about places like Nepal, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Bhutan, the subcontinent, because a lot of the stories are not doesn't come out. Of course, thanks to 50 Best now and other Priyanka in Bangalore, that all the subcontinent bars and restaurants, of course, are coming into play. But our idea is when we represent ourselves in Southeast Asia, wherever South Asia, how do we take a piece of this subcontinent back? We recently visited Bangladesh, which is a different story. It was fun, but it opened our eyes of how interesting stuff is happening there from food perspective. And some of it are like cool kids who are doing some cool stuff there, which nobody will speak about, or Nepal or Sri Lanka. Now we take it across India and to the other Southeast Asian countries for them to also realize that it's just not India, but also everyone else that has once been a part of India and are there.
So when you guys curate such kind of experiences, whether it's a collaboration with a chef or a mixologist, what are the kind of challenges you face to build this kind of an experience? I'm sure there are a lot of challenges. Maybe.
How fun can we be on this?
How frank can you
frank,
be?
Go ahead.
I think the first one is a lot of people from outside the world have a very different view of India. They think there is no Wi-Fi here or electricity.
Yeah, we've had such questions.
Cows, a lot of cows.
Okay.
I think a lot of challenges would be number one. I think political challenges are very strong, which means that visas, right?
Right.
They don't understand that India needs a visa. They think that they can travel across the world. Like they travel across the world without a visa.
Especially Singapore.
Especially
That's
Singapore.
the strongest visa. Yeah.
So they have strongest passports, so they don't realize. So we have had people who had to go into the airport and go back because they didn't realize they needed a visa.
Okay.
So yeah, but more intrinsic would be they have very high standards of F&B, and this is something you and I and all of us have seen.
Yes.
The ingredients, the product, the liquor that they use, maybe not liquor changes, but the kind of things that they want are very, very, very premium. It's a first world country. And when you come to India, the adjustments are very, very, very difficult to do. Some of it, of course, are basics on us, like limes and lemons.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I think if we had to make a book on what are the different kinds of limes and lemons, I mean, we all would do it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, the ice. Thanks to you guys, actually, I think Bangalore got its fair share of ice across. But back in the days, of course, there used to be problem with ice, problem with mise en place, prepping. Because in Singapore and all, it's a very different market. You
Right.
can do a pop-up from Monday to Sunday, and
Right.
everybody will come.
Right.
But here you can't do.
But in
pop-ups
Singapore
during
also, I think 60% of the population almost eats out every
Eats out every day. Yeah.
Exactly. Like,
And
you
it's
get
the
out and you
same,
go.
and it's the same spending power pretty much across also, right?
Yes.
So you're not having conversations about how much you need to spend on a given night.
Right.
I think like for us, one of the challenges is with the chef pop-ups, right? Like that's always the trickier ones because with the bar pop-ups, people know that they can come in and buy a drink, right? But with chefs or restaurants that are popping up, you obviously have to buy a ticket. And so, I think what we realized very early on is that one major challenge for us is that when we sell a concept, right? Like today, we are not in the business of selling concepts as much as we used to till last year. So we used to talk to a hotel or talk to a standalone restaurant and say, we're really excited about this chef. We think you should bring them, whether it's an Indian chef or a chef from outside. I think what we have managed to bridge to some extent, I don't think entirely, is that understanding of an outlet, whether it's a hotel or a restaurant, of what is sellable. So I think because we built our audience, like we also have a database of people who come for our events and everything. We built it during the pandemic. We were able to build loyalty because we were doing these really interesting delivery menus and we started doing small tables. We were able to also advise on, hey, listen, we believe people will turn up for this. It may not be a Michelin star restaurant, may not be a 50 best restaurant. It's just a cult restaurant or a cult chef in Bangkok or a Singapore. And we think they might work. And I think that was a big challenge for us last year. That no, why will it work? Well, people pay money for it. I remember when we brought Park Bench Delhi from Singapore, just a sister Delhi, right? They do like great sandwiches and stuff like that. We were like, we want to bring these guys. They're like cult icons. But everyone was just like who in Bombay, and we were bringing them to Bombay at that point in time. Who will even know who they are? Right. And we were like, it doesn't matter who they are. It's what matters is how you sell it, right? And we had like, I think we did.
brought them like twice.
We brought them to Bangalore also. Same questions here also. Who in Bangalore knows Park Bench Delhi? Okay, maybe some 10-15% people know. But I think that was where we also like able to build a competency, right? That we can convince you because we also have an idea of what consumers like. Right. So that was a big challenge on the sales side of it, right? On the talent side, yeah, it's always about how do we get the right kind of produce. I think that's been the number one big challenge for us.
So which one would you consider is the most memorable experience you have created, or which one is the best?
Wow.
It's like asking how amongst all your
kids,
child,
right?
what was the best?
There are too many
You
kids
will
there.
always have.
Yeah. I think.
Or maybe you can.
I think there were
some
two
incident which you expected or did not expect would happen.
I'll tell you one chef one and I'll tell you one bar one.
Yeah.
I think amongst the bars, I think one of the most, like even I had a lot of fun in a sense was actually our very first international bar pop-up when we brought down Botanic, I think from Colombo. That was just when the market was opening up after the pandemic. And we just started doing a lot of work with Kopitas at Four Seasons, and we brought down a lot of Indian bars, obviously, which is also like crazy fun. But when we got down Botanic, I remember just that vibe. I think that was finally when people were like, okay, we don't care if we get COVID, because the second wave had gone, it was closer to the third wave and everything. The Botanic team was just like a lot of fun. They got their DJ also down. So the whole place felt like Botanic. And he obviously, because he worked in Colombo, spent a lot of time there. I had been there but just to eat, so I never knew what the bar vibe was. So that was like a whole experience for me also. And I think everyone that night, I think we had like about 100-120 people come in the Twin Kopitas at a given point in time. So that was a great bar experience. And I think chef, there was we taken Araku to Pondicherry to do a pop-up, and we'd taken this like 130-year-old villa out there, like this beautiful bungalow, and fully converted into a dining space. And we did 2 nights out there, and then we took them to a farm on the third night, and they set up like this whole tapas and cocktails. We did this with Stranger and Sons. I think the kind of crowd that came and the way they kind of vibed over those 3 nights. I mean, the first 2 nights were sit down dining experiences. The third night was this rager of a party at a rager. I think it was just like I was unfortunately not there for that, but from what I saw of everything, that was memorable. Like the fact that we were able to take a space that was not meant for dining, not meant for a party or anything, and recreate it into that was a lot of fun.
For me, I mean, we have had a lot of bar pop-ups, and I
Right.
think the one that's recent stays the most with me. And I think our Calcutta pop-up with Tanqueray that we did at 28 Hong Kong Street was just fucking crazy.
Okay.
It's because I think I never expected Calcutta to be fun until I realized when I walked into that room where I was like an hour late. I walked in and all the drinks were almost sold out.
Wow.
It was 10 o'clock. And I had super fun because this guys from 28 Hong Kong Street had no idea of where Kolkata exists in the map.
Right.
Yeah. They were like, where's Bengal? Is Bengal Bangalore? I was like, no, that's not what it is.
Yeah.
They saw the city and they were like, okay, this is like stuck in way behind in time. But when the bar pop-up started, this place got a little bit sober. All my friends came in, and December is a perfect season for everyone in Calcutta to come back because that's the season everyone evolves. So my friends from everyone's friends from US, UK, from around the world comes back to Calcutta, and they were all there.
Okay.
And they were just like, because I don't think Calcutta has been so used to doing pop-ups, and definitely not at 28 Hong Kong Street. It went so raging that we had 30 of our friends come to my friend's house, and there was a bar takeover 2.0 at our friend's place.
Wow.
From
That's amazing.
2 in the night till 4 in the night until they had to wake up and leave. But it was damn fun. I think chef-wise, is very interesting. Of course, it was very, very painful to do this pop-up. But on Valentine's Day, 2.5 years back, we did a full house of restaurant with this friend of ours called Anurag, who does pop-up called Apartment now, right? Yeah. And we did a Valentine's Day pop-up where there were 300 people between lunch and dinner.
Wow.
And our fun part was we always loved to be at the pass.
Where was this?
This was at this old space in Kolmanga.
There was a space called Homemade Cafe which shut down, and then just before they transferred that space, they were like, we want to do like a farewell thing out here kind of a thing. So we took over that space. There was nothing there. We had to put furniture. We had to put.
So was the service team. I was the barker. We had like 5 people. Yeah, it was crazy, but it was fun. It's something that or the pop-ups we have done in Courtyard. Or wherever we have gone and taken orders and just done the things. It's just
Navu,
so much fun. Yeah, Navu. But if you but for me also the other part is when I start working with friends. When friends become family, it's also great to, like for example, me with Taj. When I did a pop-up with Taj, I felt like I've come back home from. So yeah, it's very. I'm a very emotional child. Of course, I'm Bengali, so everything that gets me emotional about it is. So yeah, that's how the 2 of our most memorable.
Great. So I think I'll probably touch upon a little bit of consumer behavior, and I think you have a great consumer base, right? From a standpoint of serving drinks at the bar or serving food and things like that, I sometimes feel that a guest who walks in knows what he's going to order in food. He's like, what can I have in chicken, or what can I have in pork, or what can I... But when it comes to drinks, he's like, I drink, say, a single malt, and this is my brand. I want to have that. To tell him, why don't you try a cocktail? It is always a little bit of a challenge. But we have come much far now. In most of our bars, we sell a lot of cocktails. But do you guys face that kind of a challenge when you're doing a takeover? Do they ask you those questions saying, am I going to get a straight drink if I come to the takeover, or am I just going to have those cocktails? What is it? What kind of questions do you guys get? Or it is just that I know that Soul Company is getting this bar. I have been to that bar in that city and I want to go there and have the drinks. How is it like?
I think that must be about 15-20% of the people, which has increased over the last couple of years. So people who've been to that bar or heard of the bar. A lot of the rest of the people will be people who'll say that, okay, we trust you guys because you'll get a good bar down. But to be honest, see, there are Soul Company customers on a given night, and then there are Soul Company customers' friends who come along with them. Right? That's the part of the experience you can't control. On any given night, if you're doing an event, especially in Bangalore and Bombay, I think today, we recognize more than half the crowd. Actually, we're happy that we recognize lesser and lesser nowadays. That means because new people are coming. But I think we recognize a lot of people, so we know how they behave. But we've had experiences, and that's why we always brief the bars who are visiting that, listen, there's a good chance that somebody will come and ask you for a straight drink.
Yeah.
Now, they come from extremely mature bar cultures where actually you go to bar for a straight drink also, right?
Yes,
Like
yes.
in India, I think we're still at that place where, okay, it's a cocktail bar. It's a bar where you go and have a drink, right? So, but they're used to that. So they're like, yeah, what's the big deal? Then you have to have a discussion with the sponsors also, ki thoda extra stock rakh lo, taki we can pour straight drinks and all that. But that aside, I think today, number one thing is that the bar team needs to be comfortable with the kind of requests that come. So we need to be able to communicate that with them. I don't think we've ever had a problem of people saying that, oh, there are only 4 cocktails. Because generally, it's 4 or 5 cocktails that a bar will do. But we've had experiences where people have said that, none of them are working for me. So now I don't know what else to have. And we have invited bars that are very experimental in that sense, right? Or have a very specific tone of voice when it comes to their
Then we tell them to go to other
drinks. Yeah. And we're like, hey, listen, you're experiencing something, right? You may
Yes.
not like what you've had. But I think barring 1 or 2, we've not had that too much as an issue because we also give that as a brief again to the bar team that, hey, listen, do something which is a little like this, do something which is a little like this. All your signatures, don't create anything for the night. Should be your signatures, but ensure that we're able to hit different kinds of, palettes in that sense.
A lot of it happens in Delhi.
Okay.
When we do pop-ups in Delhi, there's this one guy, very nice guy, and he will every time come and ask for a bottle of Armand de Brignac, and he will just drink it.
Okay.
And he will make everyone drink that.
Yeah.
But
So
he will come for all pop-ups. He'll come for all our pop-ups.
So our partners are very happy.
Yeah, most of our partners were at that time Moet Hennessy, and the Moet Hennessy team is there. And he orders a bottle of Armand de Brignac every time. But that's like, for example, there's this bartender Francesco from 1930 bar in Milan.
Right.
And he was making drinks, and then this guy came and he asked for Armand de Brignac, and he's like, I have like this many drinks. He's like, no, I only drink Armand de Brignac. I came to see your vibe, but I want to drink an Armand de Brignac. So then you have to just do it.
And that's actually great. Like actually that even happens in Bangalore where some people come and they're like, my friend likes to drink, but I love the vibe. Like I just like how and that time we didn't have cocktail bars in Bangalore, right? We just had.
Then you give them their house like the Kopita's house drinks or their house drinks.
We make those exceptions for people wherever we.
But if you say the drinks are sweet, then I'll kill you.
It's very difficult to deal with subjective
What is the
feedback.
standard question that you ever get after a bar takeover? The standard answer, feedback. The drinks are very sweet.
Okay.
So even if it is a dry martini, the drinks are very sweet.
Okay, so are we going to see maybe Indian bars and chefs going out of the country and doing pop-ups with Soul Company? Do you have any plans as such, or?
We've done a couple. We took Hoots to Singapore earlier this year, to Origin in Singapore. We took Chef Shriya Shetty to Bangkok to do a pop-up at Jol, which is also Chef Harinayak's restaurant in Bangkok. The thing is, it's also a matter of what audiences there are seeking and also how pop-ups happen there. The formats are very different. So keeping aside the commercial aspect of it, I think we do have a couple of people, and you'll see some of this over the next year and a half. There are certain talents from that sense, both from a food and cocktail perspective, that we want to kind of get behind. And the idea is that how do we build it in a way that we build some kind of a commercial plan in India, because we're either doing stuff with them in India where there is obviously, commerce that works around it. And this becomes the positioning piece. And I think this positioning piece is something that we are now kind of looking at and saying, how do we do it right? I think with Shriya, it's been there from day one for us.
Okay.
Right? I think we've not done any chef, not done those many pop-ups with any chef in our, like at least with an Indian chef. I think with Shriya, we've done every city in India. Yeah.
Okay. She makes amazing ghee roast, and I think the world falls in love with that over and over again. But yeah, we'll be doing a lot more. But the thing is that we don't want to do too many.
Right.
We don't want to jump into doing random pop-ups in other countries until it adds value.
Okay.
So we are just in the process of figuring out how impactful could it be, and where would it be, and how would it be? So that's the only thing that we want to do, because we're also learning from markets outside of what others do.
But is there an excitement there with the people who you bring
100%.
from there? Do they show that excitement saying, hey, you know what, I want these guys to come?
Whenever
My
they come,
God.
whenever anyone comes here, they literally like cherry pick people, and they love them, and then they want to like work with them. And then
Who,
take
if I'm not
them.
wrong, even not only for Origins, but everyone who came that night was like, we've not seen such a busy bar takeover night in Singapore for a very long time.
Oh,
It's crazy.
It was crazy. They were just like, there's an Indian bar coming. People have obviously heard of Foods because that year they were on the 50 best list and everything. But it was not just because of that. I think it was,
To be very
yeah,
weirdly so, we actually have a database in Singapore.
yeah. Actually, yeah, that's what we actually got our database out that night,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, that's what happened.
And these are friends of ours. I mean, some of them we have met together.
Yes.
And Singapore is very small, so.
Right.
And the industry comes and spends on cocktails out
I
there,
was
right?
say the industry
And-
actually like they go all in to support,
Yeah.
like much like ours and everyone else's.
Yeah.
But Singapore is so small, they will all.
They'll all come in, they'll bring in their friends. Like, I think here on industry nights, what also ends up happening is you're coming to meet other industry folks. You don't get to normally meet them. Bangalore's so big, Bombay is so big. They're constantly meeting each other. So on a bar night, they're like, I'll also bring my friends and come, who are non-industry people, for instance.
Same
So,
with Bangkok, yeah.
Yeah.
They will come for everyone else's to support them. And
So in every podcast, I always touch upon a topic of mindful drinking. You remember we went to this bar, Spectre, by Andrew. He was talking about mental health, and he gave us that magic paper to write something. It was a great experience. What is your thought on mindful drinking? Because some of them may misunderstand it, or there is a misconception about mindful drinking. As a cocktail bar, I would now I'm thinking that I should also do a fantastic non-alcoholic menu, because if there are 4 people coming to my bar, one of them is probably not drinking, or he is the one who's going to drive all of them back home or anything like that. I was focusing so much on cocktail. Now I feel I should have a mocktail menu as well. But what is your thought on mindful drinking? Do you see that in consumers, or is there a way you want to push that out?
I think it's a little hard for us to push it out as a brand, but I think it extends to, at least for me, the people we know, and I think us also. Because I think the problem for us is that when we travel, so one thing that I feel, to answering an earlier question of yours, I think that we do really well, and like I'll actually pat all ourselves on the back for it, is that when we bring talent down, we do a great job of taking them around and showing what's happening in the city,
Right.
And therefore in India as a whole, right? On the bar scene, food scene, everything. But what that does to us in that sense is that whenever we're traveling, if we mainly travel if there's an event.
I'm already laughing before.
Yeah, and we go to a bar.
I don't know why he's coming.
Yeah, and like the bartender sees us and they're like, we know your drink, and we're like, no, but tonight we, like, if you're hanging with a bartender, obviously we'll have a drink.
No, Avinash,
But sometimes if we go, if we go at the end of a night, right, like sometimes we'll just be in a city for meetings and we just go to a bar because we like the vibe of a bar.
Yeah.
We want to have one drink, right, but it ends with like 3 shots and this and that and everything.
Yes.
I think that move at some level first needs to start with us, right? Like, where like I try very hard at times, maybe not in the last few months, but to be a little forceful about, I'm not here to drink tonight, or I'm just going to have a straight drink, right? Because I think what ends up happening is that it's pretty much never ending. We used to earlier come back to Bangalore as a respite from the rest of the country because there were no cocktail bars in Bangalore. But now, with all that's happening, it's very hard even socially to kind of stay away from.
Soka decided to open like 500 meters away.
Yeah, so thanks a
Like,
lot.
how do you do mindful drinking so you don't have to go back home in a car or something? But it's very interesting that you said, and Soman and I actually have very intense discussion about this, and this is something we also spoke about mindful drinking, because to be very honest, as much as I like drinking, I am not a very big overdoer of alcohol, because I don't enjoy it too much. The thing that there's a perspective that was given to, I mean, all of us by Millie Tan. She actually wrote a post after Asia 50 Best where she said that I don't want to be ousted with the character? No, thrown out of the industry just because I don't like. Is it a McDonald's cheeseburger or a drink? So what happens, and I think it's something that we always keep it under our breath, but we never say, is that as industry people, we all have that thing that if we don't go and don't drink at another bar, or if somebody's offering, they might feel offended, which they would, 100%. We are artists, others are artists. It's just like saying, And I do feel it's chefs, but I mean, food is nutritious. Alcohol is also nutritious, but of course it has its own its own cons. And we do feel, and that's what Millie Tang spoke about here. She said that, I do not want, like, this is an open this thing, that I do not drink anymore. And I don't want to feel that insecure that if I don't go to your bar and I don't drink, I'm alone. Like, not, I mean, I'm not from the industry. Do we really need to do so much of alcohol drinking, shots, and all of that? Because we all are living a very, very intense life. And I do feel that, like you said, right, whenever I go to a bar, I will drink.
Right.
Nowadays, I have my own ways of drinking or whatever it is. But if there is non-alcoholic drinks, great. I would love to, because every day you can't drink. So when industry sees other industry, they should first, I think, ask them if they are in the mood of a drink or they just want to keep it chill. I think it's like how, and it's actually harmless.
Right.
What they do is, I mean, I'm not saying in a bad way, it's like how our grandparents would behave when we go back home. They would put food over our hand or whatever because they love you. But one thing they don't realize that you're getting more of it. I think we all, mindful drinking would be when you know the perimeter of a person's limits and how much they should be drinking or what, and you just accept to the fact that that person doesn't want to drink without feeling emotional or, oh bro, you are coming to my bar and not drinking. Oh, it's not great. Oh, you went to that other bar. Like, I do feel that sometimes it's an obligation that I come to Bangalore, and if I go to one bar quite often, I should be going to all bars. But it's not that I love all bars, but I cannot physically go to every bar every day or something. But I love all of them. And could not consider Bangalore, any other city. And if I go to another bar, and of course I know that they will feel bad. Like, if it was my bar, I would feel bad that if one of my friends is going to another place.
Right.
It's like a friend coming to Bangalore not visiting you. But yeah, I think we need to all take it with a pinch of salt every time we. And I have seen this. For example, there's this couple of bars who came down with us and recently, and they said, listen, the first thing they said was, we don't drink so much. And by the way, a lot of Singapore bartenders are actually
teetotalers.
they're sober. Like, chefs are sober, bartenders are sober.
Because Pankaj in his last in the first episode of our podcast was talking about Jay Khan, who
he's
drink.
a teetotaler.
He's
a legend. I mean, he runs 100 kilometers a day.
Yeah.
Jay Khan took all of us out during Asia 50 Best on top of the Victoria Peak, but there was a typhoon number 8. But he said, you guys will do it because you drink so much. Let's do it.
But like, I think from a consumer perspective, I mean, also industry people are consumers in that sense, but I think that's one whole conversation, right? Like he said, like, if we just ask that question, I think it changes the dynamics immediately.
I also do feel consumers sometimes come up to bars and say, why don't you have a non-alcoholic drink? Now, this is a very tricky question because you are at a bar. As the virtue of bar, you will get an alcohol.
No, but I think this point of like that fourth person in a group, right? That always is a thing because you want to hang out in a bar.
Yes.
Because actually a lot of people I know don't drink, love the vibe of a bar, right? They love the energy of a bar. And if they're coming with friends, obviously if they come by themselves on, or just with someone else and then both of them are not drinking, then even you feel it's a bit of a waste. But I think zero ABV drinks, there are now places I've gone and had who do a great job of it. So that's kind of changed my mind also. Because earlier I used to be like,
just not fruity drink.
Yeah, it's not just fruity drinks. It's also, I think, where cocktails didn't have great balance in India till some time ago. Like, I think even the zero ABV drinks didn't have. And now they do. So it's great. I feel within the next year, you cannot open a bar. If you're opening a bar, if it's a restaurant bar, it's a different thing. But I don't think you can open a bar without it. I feel it should be there. And I feel as much as we recommend, like, especially when I see regulars coming in to a bar, I feel like as much as you're like, hey, try out this new cocktail. I know you like this, try out this new cocktail. I feel that there's such a great opportunity there to be saying, hey, if you feel like it today, would you like to try one of these? I know what you think of it, but would you like to try? Because that's one perception changing thing that can help so much, right? Because maybe I will never come back and have that zero ABV drink, but the moment I bring a friend, I'll be like, what, these guys do it well.
You remember in BCB, Singapore, there were actually a couple of non-alcoholic brands also.
Yes.
There was a lot of people. One of our friend, Crispy, he is the director of this distributing company who also distributes, I think, Hapusha across China and Singapore and all of them. And he took me, like, he's one of his stalls where a non-alcoholic, they were doing non-alcoholic Negronis, and it's not Seedlip, it's some other brand. But there were so many over there. I realized that
That's clearly a market.
drinking is very much.
We are also using Sakura, who has Negroni, and we use their Amaretto. As a mocktail, we serve Amaretto sour in our bars because we don't want to, tell them that, no, you've come to a cocktail bar and why not having a cocktail. I mean, sometimes I would like to go out and sit at a bar but not drink because you end up drinking almost every evening sometime. And another aspect which we have started looking into is, I mean, you've been doing this for so many years. So if you come to my bar, I'll give you a drink and say, taste it and let me know how it is. And we expect you to finish so that I give you another one and try. So we realized it's impossible for you to have 3 drinks and, taste it. So we started doing small tasters of our cocktails. Maybe we have an order at the bar of 3 of the same drinks. I could make a little extra and give you a taste. Hey, we have another drink on the menu. Why don't you just taste it? Because me and Somir work with, he does the food and I do the drinks. I face this challenge. He'll send food on the table. You can send 10 dishes and you can still take a bit. But I'm like, can you finish that? I want to give you another drink. But then
Who does it really well? I think Bombay Canteen does it really well. Prantik. They do this half
Yeah.
martinis, half Manhattan.
Of all the classics, they do a half. Yeah.
Like a chota. Damn good.
I mean, that from a consumer perspective is great.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Or even
I
if I
think-
don't want to drink so much and I want to have like half of a half, it's like,
Yeah.
it's not bad.
But this is a good idea. You should do it. Like, especially for industry folks,
Yeah.
Correct.
should totally do it. Yeah.
Since
Give them
we
water
started
bottles.
talking about industry, folks, I want to put a question to you guys, asking:
Oh,
Are you? I know that when there is a
Sorry,
bar
stretching.
taker or
Can I say
something before. Yeah, of course. Feel free. You do maybe a small session for the industry. They tell the bartenders tell what is their bar program and things like that. Are you going to curate any experience which is exclusive for industry, where they come in, they go through that experience of what those? I mean, bar takeover. Yes, you talk to a bartender, have a few drinks and go. But it might be a food experience. Is there anything specific you're
we
planning
wanted
for
to
the
once do
industry?
an employees only for employees only.
Oh, nice, nice.
Sure, done it.
Yeah. Also, we did this.
If you're a consumer, you can care out. Only industry.
We also want to do this. We did it actually in May. We want to take a group of people and have them experience F&B in Singapore through our eyes.
Okay.
The first one we did was a consumer thing. So, I mean, there were some industry people also, but it was purely like bars we like, restaurants we like, bartenders taking you on a bar crawl. And then we wanted to do a industry edition of it.
Right.
You know, obviously at a better price and things like that, because those meals and everything were priced fairly high.
Because it needs to be accessible for everyone.
Yeah. Because you want a mix of people to be able to come, right? You want a brand ambassador to be able to come. You want a bar head to be able to come. You want a
Investor
Like
of a
a-
bar to everyone.
yeah,
Anyone.
anyone.
So, yeah.
So I think that was something that has gone onto the back burner a bit. But like, to be very honest, I remember that time when we were discussing, we were like, forget about taking them to Singapore. To even be able to take industry from Bangalore to Bombay and say that all of this is happening, right? Like, sometimes we talk to bartenders and all of that. Like, we've heard of these bars in Bombay.
Right.
We've not gone in a couple of years. How do you even curate that?
The other thing we
So
wanted
that
to,
maybe, yeah.
sorry, I think wanted to do was, which actually we haven't really put too much effort. I think we should. Whenever a bartender comes from outside and whenever we take them around, we want to open it out to bartenders from the city to just spend some time with them. So
Okay.
we take them to Bangalore to company, we take them for bar crawl and all that. We don't want like 600 people because then the experience is not going to be one-on-one. But if
Right.
anybody upcoming, of course, I mean, we also realize the hierarchy of people in the industry. Some are very senior, some of them are not very senior, like interns at a bar
Right.
back. They don't get to spend so much time. All of us, we will all meet these bartenders. You are one Instagram away. I don't think some of the beginners in the industry are.
Right.
And like we all in our own jobs have this fellowship program, right? You also have mentors. We always thought that we would, whoever comes down to India, we will let them spend some time with this, with the younger folks in the industry,
Yes.
so that they can also ask. Like, and their questions are like children, like they're very innocent questions that they would ask. Some of them we have had in Delhi, but we want to do more of them back in Bangalore and Bombay and everywhere. Where please stay with, like, understand how they are, ask them questions. As a bar, if you, like, for example, you're an entrepreneur, you can send your whoever you feel like should be knowing a little bit more.
Right.
In a slightly more informal setting
Say,
also.
informal setting. Also understanding, because for them, I think more than making drinks, like we all say, making drinks is a process. But how do you speak to people? How do you, like, what are these quirks that you have?
Correct.
How do you do it? Like, it's exactly how I think, for example, McLean or Mac, the way he is because he got mentored by Bose and Pankaj. I think that's when we got the idea that if somebody so young can be mentored so well,
Correct.
or Apurva. or anyone of that
Hmm.
matter, why don't we also do it? But that was before when we went to Bartizoro for the first time, we felt
Okay.
we want to do more of it maybe.
Okay. So what do you guys see as the next big trend in bartending or the cocktail scene in the country?
Tight bars, small bars.
Small bars.
Yeah, I was going to just say that.
Reservations only.
I think I would say probably clarification in cocktails was one of the biggest trends.
Clarification is
But-
now, I think.
Yeah. So technique-wise, you're saying.
Yeah.
So
Anything.
I think from a consumer standpoint, I feel actually like zero ABV drinks is going to be a thing. I feel like larger and larger, more in restaurant bars.
Hmm.
But the culture will have to begin in cocktail bars. Then restaurant bars will start doing it.
I think all the zero ABV alcohol companies will watching this podcast
Please
will probably
sponsor our
collaborate
pop-ups.
with you to
Please
curate the
collaborate,
experience.
curate
Yeah.
across.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And I think from a concept perspective, I think small tight bars, like especially in markets like Bangalore, Calcutta, Chennai, where one problem is regulation, but the other problem is the need for neighborhood bars, because
Right.
these are cities where there's not a lot of traveling between neighborhoods as much. So to kind of create those markets, I think Indira Nagar can easily have a couple more, right?
Right.
So how does that culture start changing?
I think savory drinks. If you can eat it, you can
Hmm.
drink it. I think with double chicken, please, Lost in Isolation, you guys also do a couple of them.
Yes.
So many bars.
Yeah.
Straightforward also does some.
Moro does a couple.
Muro does a couple of them.
Yeah. I think Southern Star and Spirit Forward is.
Yeah.
But I've seen a lot of this in Hong Kong and Singapore and Bangkok. There's this bar called the Apothecary in Hong Kong where they do a spring onion Ramos Gin Fest.
Wow.
So I think everyone's. I mean, double chicken please is double chicken please.
Yes.
But they have done. I think savory cocktails are coming, and it's frankly, baras.
Baras, yeah. The
Ramen.
beef and onion. Yeah.
Yeah, and it also gives like chefs their due credit of food tastes good, so let's make them into drinks.
Hmm.
And also, I feel like in India that can work really well, right? Like
Yeah.
we have a palette ready for it already.
Very funnily, Saranj Goela made this butter
Yeah,
chicken.
Martini.
Not a martini.
Sal or something. It was
It
delicious.
was really. It was a bunch of
Saranj,
stuff.
you need to make this again, please.
He did a pop up at Woodside where it was all drinks from his the story of his life, and one of them was this, and it worked. It flew. That night it flew. I think he done about 80 of them out in within about an hour and a half, and just the right amount of balance.
Bartenders who are listening, maybe they should start working on.
Butter
You
chicken.
I think at least
I think
have something in your menu on it.
They had biryani drink. No, but the last I had a biryani drink. Where in Singapore
At Elephant
Yes.
House.
Elephant room.
Elephant Room.
Yeah.
Yes. That tasted just like it was a delicious drink.
Yeah. I think for consumers also. Another thing. I think classics are bad. Classics are
Yes.
Classics are. It's like how in the fashion industry,
Hmm.
the fashion retro is in. I think for us in bars, classics are in as well.
I think the consumer is also more learned now.
Yeah,
Than-
they're far more informed.
Like,
So
yesterday in my bar, I had a guest who said, "Can you do a Corpse Reviver too?"
Oh,
Like,
wow.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to, but I'm sorry, I don't have coin throw,
Coin
so I
throw.
couldn't do it. So, but I was very, and he tried almost 80% of the drinks on the menu. Then he said, "I'll come back and try a few more."
I think it's all Instagram. The popularity of
Yes.
Instagram has made the world so connected that you don't have the difference between an industry person and a consumer so much now, because
Right.
even he or I can actually look at someone, like if I was a consumer, we were a consumer, or you, we can actually look at somebody and try to emulate their drinks and we'll make it at home.
So, what's
And
your
it's also
favorite classic?
Manhattan? It is just Martini.
Martini. Yours?
It's like when you want to say something and then the wrong one comes out, but you've been thinking about it. Martini, and then you say Manhattan. It's always a Martini.
yeah, old fashioned for me always.
Old fashioned.
Yeah. Whatever variations of it. I did a mezcal old fashioned here recently at
Yes.
Soka. Brilliant. I also think that a lot of, especially in Bangalore, a lot of the folks who are coming to bars are so well traveled. I think like there's this far younger, well traveled audience in Bangalore as compared, just as a percentage of people as compared to maybe even in Delhi and Bombay. And when they travel the world, it's mainly food and drink. And when they travel for drinks, they're obviously looking up all the lists, but they also now have learned the tricks of how to find those lesser known bars in a city, and it's not just going by the lists. And if you go and travel anywhere, especially in Europe, right, a lot of those bars out there, the first question is classics led. Like there's a lot of the bars that are made of the 50 best list from Europe do all these, innovative cocktails, but otherwise you just go and do classics in most bars, right? A bit like when Cocktail and Dreams opened, it was just that. It's always been that. So I think from that perspective, knowledge, both from an Instagram perspective, travel perspective, is so democratic now, that you're going to have a lot more people coming in and asking you for classics. Also, I think people feel cool asking for classics nowadays, to be very honest. And the more complicated the classic, complicated as in like a Corpse Reviver is not the most classic to ask for, right? Like a martini, an old-fashioned whiskey sour or whatever is something that you might ask for. But like, I want a Vucare or I want a Corpse Reviver also comes from a bit of a, I had this there and now I want to see if I can find it here, and I also want to impress the bartender.
Do you use a date, like when you ask for like 007 style, can I get a martini?
I'm too old.
Half a lillet. But I think classics are in. And people are understanding, so they will not call it sweet anymore. Maybe.
Sorry, last point. I feel this relationship between a consumer and a bartender is now becoming a real thing in India, right? Like now there's this whole, I can have a conversation, because that's the kind of bars that are opening up also, which suddenly opens up a whole world of let's try zero ABV, let's try savory cocktails and all of that. Also comes from a world that I know that I can ask this person to try it out. Not just industry people, I can actually ask this consumer, because you have a dialogue now, which used to not be the case with hotel bars in India until some years back.
With Gokul Bartend. No, Gokul's in Bombay.
Oh, Gokul.
And you guys will have so much.
He
will know your preference. He'll ask you if you...
That's an alcoholic dialogue.
What happened to you? Fish curry rice.
They're the OG bartenders.
Also another very exciting trend, not a trend I would say, but a thing which I see happening right now is bartenders are willing to get out and on their off days and go visit another bar and have a cocktail. I mean, probably a few years earlier it was about on your off day sit with your friends and get drunk on Old Monk and get wasted. But now they're willing to go out, try cocktails at another bar and share feedback with the bartender, make friends with them, connect with them. I think the community is also coming together, which is a really good sign.
I do know a lot of young bartenders who are actually saving money to go travel to Bangkok and try the drinks. It's a great thing. Like you're saving for your own passion.
Yes.
It's like you said, exactly. But I also think we should be thankful to all of you as bar owners and this thing, that you are giving that much of time in getting them, like you don't make them work like how we work, right? In industry.
The hotel culture is in
26 hours a day.
Right.
367 days a year. But there is room to breathe.
Hotelier maths.
The drink should have gone yesterday. But I think it's because everyone's realizing that you might get burnt out and you have to give time to think and speak.
You need some mental peace out. But thank you so much for joining the Cocktail Club podcast. It was really wonderful conversation, and I wish you guys all the best, and I would love to collaborate with you guys for more experiences, whatever we could do. And thanks for taking out time. I know you guys are really busy. You just traveled yesterday and came here, and have a good...
Thank you so much. We love talking, so thanks for...
We love Soka, So and Ka. Missing So here. My Bengali friend. But so is he expecting us to do drinks?
Now we have to go behind the bar and get drinks.
But
thanks so much, man.